Welcome to Thanksgiving 2025. It's Maynard and Mike, and we're out in Wyoming. As all of you know, over the years, we have always thought it would be cool on Thanksgiving Day to have an episode, dedicated to the people who make it possible. In particular, energy people. Last year we had a really special one because we had some World War II veterans. They obviously made it possible in so many ways. And over the years we've tried to go on location to show what's happening in the field, what's happening to make it all possible. This year, credit to Mike, we had the CEO of Peabody on COBT this summer, and Mike suggested, hey, how about we come out there for Thanksgiving? And Jim and his team were nice enough to make that possible. So Mike and I and our team, we've been here. It's just a handful of days before Thanksgiving, and we've spent a good day here with the Peabody team in Wyoming. We've got Pat Forkin. He's the head of strategy for the company. And we also have Clayton Kyle. He's the production manager here at the mine. It's the North Antelope Rochelle mine. It's the largest mine in the United States. It produces, I think it's 12% of the United States coal. Coal produces still over 15% of the country's electricity. And as the world has rethought what we need, why we need it, what's important, what are we doing, there's a real renaissance going on here in a ton of ways. And there's a lot of exciting things. More than anything, there's just some incredible people doing incredible things in energy. So this is the Thanksgiving show. Everybody at this mine will be working on Thanksgiving Day. It is a 24/7, 365 operation. Guys, that was a painfully long introduction, but I got excited. I couldn't help myself. And thank you for Mike and I got our Peabody hats on. We're just the guests who won't leave. But Pat and Clayton, thank you so much for the day so far. It's been awesome.
Absolutely.
Mike, you having the time of your life?
You know what? I was regretting a little bit. I was like, God, what could go wrong on this trip? But everything has gone so right. It's been unbelievable meeting the people, just seeing the mine, just the vastness of how big it is and how intense and just how complex it really is. And I don't think most people in America or even globally understand how difficult this job is. And the culture here is fantastic. And I think that's what kind of embodies who Peabody is just the culture. You can feel it. People are here, are excited. I didn't hear one, most of the people we talked to have been here 15, 20, 25 years, right? You don't stay at companies that long unless you really enjoy what you're doing. And we got that in this trip, and that's why we came out. And so we really appreciate you guys, offering this up and hosting us.
It's an honor for us to host you guys. Really, you guys are a clear voice of the intersection of energy and capital markets, and you tell it like it is, and we just really appreciate you being here, the interest you've taken in Peabody, but especially the interest you've taken in our operations here in Wyoming. So it's great to have you here.
Well, this will be, we've got kind of a combination of, we've gotten to meet the whole team, and lunch with the squad there was a real highlight. But I think between the two of you, we got strategy and we've got operations here, and there is so much big picture going on in the world today. Pat, maybe you could hit on it, which is for a long time, the world just jumped up every morning and said, we got to use less coal, we got to use less coal. And that was just a mentality. And thankfully, we seem to have turned the corner on that. And now we're waking up to like, wait a minute, we need energy. Energy is critical. And what you do here is so much better than it's done in so many other places around the world. But I'm kind of just, let's jump into just how the environment has changed around all this.
Yeah, happy to. It's really an exciting time. I think many of us, as we've done the analysis over the last decade or 15 years, we knew that we were on a path that just was not sustainable, and that the math and the physics were such that with continued retirement of coal as base load, along with any kind of reasonable load growth, was going to cause problems. It was just a matter of when that would manifest itself and what the results of that would be. We've seen some of that manifest over the last couple of years with the big storm we had in Texas, and but it has been hard for a while. I think this industry has been under duress, policy duress, for a long time. But we've got a confluence of things happening right now with President Trump's administration that is pro-energy, pro-business, pro-freedom, pro-America, obviously, and it's brought a lot of things to light. And America, with the increased demand from AI, data centers, onshoring, on top of all of those baseload retirements, we've got some real challenges. And people have come to realize that they need the electrons. Electrons don't come in colors. They're electrons, and we need all of the above. It's something that all of us have been saying for a long time, and it is coming to a point where more people realize it. More people. We've talked about affordable energy forever. Well, it's really coming out now. People are really paying attention to it, and it just presents a great opportunity for Peabody and the work that the team do here.
I was just thinking and this is why we loved seeing it. We were kind of, I think, prepared for it, but then I'll speak for both of us. So impressed because there's so much we didn't realize. But just this gets back to, in the U.S., we are doing it the right way, right? Like we spent a lot of time talking with you, Clayton, about all the reclamation you guys do post mining, and we saw it, and it's really stunning how beautiful the landscape is after you do the mining. The safety. We talked about your low incident rate, and and Mike talked about how many guys are doing this job and they've been doing it for a long time and they love it and they're happy. So it's just, whether it's safety or post mining or just all the practices, you're doing it the way it should be done. And so when you're the U.S., you should think about, we should do our own for all these reasons, but we're doing it right. I'm on a commercial here, but it's Thanksgiving, so I'm getting carried away. But talk a little bit about that, Clayton, just your operations here and all the attention to detail that happens.
Yeah. Well, I think, like you talked, it's a combination of all three pieces of that. We obviously are out here with our minds on safety first. We're looking out for each other. We want everybody going home to their families just like they came. But as you combine that with being productive and efficient, that starts providing a low cost unit that we make, and you pair that with, like we talked, reclamations, putting it back how it was and better. And you got a lot of people out here that are very interested in making sure we do all pieces of that, bringing it all together.
Well, and you should give, maybe if you don't mind, give people a sense of the scope, because when you were going through the numbers today, and I remember at one point you said, I think it was about 3,500 trains, and I said, is that cars? And you said, no, that's trains. Each train has 150 cars. So I mean, just the scale. Do you mind just hitting the tonnage, the trains, just the volume of activity? I mentioned it's the largest coal mine in the United States. 12% of the U.S. coal is coming from right here, this 150 square miles. But maybe just give us some of those volumes.
Yeah, so on any given day right now, we're averaging about 12 to 13 trains that cycle through the property every day. So every train has about 16,500 tons on it. So we would be producing in excess of 200,000 tons of coal every day. And we pair that up with our target right now is 400 to 450,000 yards of truck shovel overburden removed every day. And then we're moving 100 to 150,000 yards of dirt with dozers, and then on a good day our drag lines are moving over 500,000 yards of material also. So there's a lot of material moving every single day.
And then there was so much we enjoyed about today, but I think one thing we appreciate is so the coal here is very low sulfur, and it's high BTU, so it's very attractive coal. But then you as you sell to utilities, and was it like 25 states or so that this coal is going to? The utilities want different blends. And so you have this elaborate system here of conveyor belts and trucks and a mixing unit and the way the train pulls up, where I used the expression coal barista. But I mean, you're making these specialized blends for all these different utilities. I mean, it's a really complicated operation.
Correct.
Maybe just tell us the team, or I think give people a sense of how you do that.
Yep. So, like you said, 25 states the product ships out to, roughly 52 contracts. So every one of those contracts has different quality demands. So we're looking at sodium, we're looking at calcium and BAR or BTU, and all of those end up being very specific details that every contract demands. And we talked about the difference in the plants, how they burn, and a lot of that's dictated is the plant's set up to run a certain way, and so the quality really has to meet that to a very tight spec so that their plants operate efficiently. So what we do is we have a list of those 52 contracts, and as the railroad ships those trains to us, the dispatch team downstairs does a great job they take the pit quality that's coming to the crushers, we put it in the 5 silos or the 2 slot storage facilities that we have, and then they do an outstanding job of 99.9% accuracy. Very, very few trains do we end up not meeting spec on those, because those guys pay such close attention to the details of that.
But it's like each train, which has 150 cars, has a unique blend to the train, and then you're weighing every car before it leaves here, and it's going to 25 states and 50 plus customers. Like, it's and there's some stunning stats you had too about, I think you said the number was like, so far since the mine opened, over 2 billion tons have been mined. And if you added up all the trains that have been filled, give us that stat. That's a good one.
I think the statistic said 2.7 billion tons shipped is where we're at. You wrap the train cars end to end, I think it said wraps around the earth 10.2 times. That's a long train.
That's a real long train.
Yeah.
What have you been changing about the mine lately? Like there's obviously a lot of technology involved, new vehicles, predictive maintenance. Just talk to us about technology and how it's been changing the mine. Because you joined in 2009?
2009, yep. Yep.
From School of Mines, we got to give School
Yep.
of Mines a shout out.
Yep, correct. Yep. Colorado School of Mines with a mining engineering degree. But it's been good. We looked at the overland conveyor out to the pit. A lot of our technology and capital investments are structured around reducing cost. Because the better cost structure we can present, the more money we're going to end up providing back to the people, our investors, and that's how we end up doing better and lasting longer and being competitive with everything else. So an overland conveyor ends up reducing our diesel costs and burning. If you look at technology in the trucks, we talked about our guard vent systems. That's a fatigue management system that's in our coal trucks that really helps keep operators alert, keeping them safe. And you start nodding off or having issues, you can get alerted and make sure you're staying focused.
This thing you shared about the how many people work here at any given time? 200? Is that what you said?
It would be more like 500 to 600 people on site at a given time.
500 to 600 people on site,
including our contractors.
Including the contractors.
Yep.
And you talked about the shifts, because I think that's one thing we always like sharing with people is just there's real physical hard work going on here. But do you mind just describing those shifts that people work? Because it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. So it's a 28-day rotating schedule that the team works, and that's all your operators, the plant team, the maintenance team, everybody works essentially the same schedule. So on a 28-day rotating schedule, you would work 14 shifts out of that 28-day period, and you would have one period of 7 days off continuous that you're not reporting back unless you decide to sign up for some overtime. But amongst that 21-day period, you're flipping back and forth between days and nights 4 times. So it's very challenging for those
this
employees.
last part, you mind just pausing on this? So you work the day shift for a few days, you get a day off, and then you work the night shift for a few days.
Yep.
Like that's not easy.
It's not, no. It's very challenging. Operators, everybody, like I said, everybody does a great job to rest up. You're staying focused and taking care of your body and getting as much sleep as you can and doing all of that. That's a big part of being out here to work, is being fit for duty and being safe and coming back the next day and being ready to go.
All right, one more from me, Mike, jump in here. But on the safety thing, the other thing that came up this morning that we didn't have an appreciation for was this is a right-hand drive mine.
Yep.
And most mines are actually left-hand drive, including some in the area. Do you mind just talking about that? Because it's a fascinating feature of the operation here.
Yep. Well,
And why you do it, because I know it's tied to safety.
Yep. No, right-hand traffic is something we're all, in America at least, we're used to right-hand traffic driving down the highway, and it's always been our position here at NARM that having that as second nature, driving down the road and right-hand traffic, driving around the mine, naturally you want to be on the right-hand side.
These trucks are massive. They're stunning.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
But you don't want to cross-thread that logic with somebody if you are dealing with a haul truck that size. You want to follow that natural instinct, and everybody's used to that right-hand traffic. So.
And you talked about if you're a left-hand mine, then you gotta, when you leave the place, you gotta drive home on the right, and then you gotta come back to work and drive on the left.
Yep.
But I take it there are some efficiencies for doing it on the left, is why people do that. But it gets hard for the mine to keep up with that.
Yep.
Really interesting. All right, Mike, jump in here.
Yeah, I thought one of the interesting points is when we had lunch a little while ago, we were talking to some of the guys, and it was interesting. Some of them, this obviously is going to go out around Thanksgiving, but they were talking about Thanksgiving holiday and Christmas, and most of them, several of them said, this year I think I'm getting off on Christmas. I've been working every Christmas for the last 4 or 5 years, and it just was stunning to me, because when we say that you guys are working, you guys are actually working. We're not making this stuff, and just to hear it from the mouths was really, really interesting. And it wasn't like they were mad or anything. They were just like, yeah, that's what we do, And it was just the American way, to be honest with you. The one thing I also heard out on the road, Drew was talking about, was that the percentage of women that are part of the workforce here, and he said it was something like 15% of the women. And I was like, well, what do they do? Is it administrative? He's like, no, they're operating trucks. They're like there. And I was like, what kind of people are these? They're coming out of school. He's like, a lot of them tend to be teachers and moms that have kids are gone, and now they're like, okay, we want to do something. Well, we want to make a lot of money now. And he said they're among the best employees. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. I that kind of surprised me a little bit. Not that women are hard workers, that percent of the workforce is here.
Absolutely.
Seen that way.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
No, they're a huge part of our workforce, and glad to have them. They end up being some, among the hardest working of all of them. It's good to see that. It's, I think as the years have gone on, you see more of that shift where females feel welcome here and ready to put the time in, just like everybody else.
Maybe one question for you is we talked earlier about the culture. I can feel the culture on the ground here. Maybe talk about the culture from the corporate standpoint, because I look at your industry has been up and down over the last 10 or 15 years. You've had 20 years ago was great times, 5 years ago was tough times, and now it looks like we're embarking on good times again. Just how do you keep the corporate office, the culture strong and upbeat? Because I can feel it here. And how do you basically now sit there and go, okay, we've been in this environment where things were going lower. Now we're thinking about, okay, how high can we go from here? How do you basically manage that culture there, just from an optimism standpoint, and how does that get reflected all the way from Jim all the way to Clayton?
No, great question, and I appreciate it. And, Maynard, I think you said when you were talking about the shifts, it's not easy, right? And there is nothing about the coal business that is easy. There really isn't. And, my experience when I joined the company 15 years ago, Mike, when I walked through that St. Louis office, within about 30 minutes, just looking around, talking to people, you saw a culture that was focused on work. and you sit around and you have to make a decision for yourself. Is there a fit here or not? But I think it is that culture that we have. And listen, this company's been around for 142 years. That culture emanates from everything that is happening here at NARM and the rest of our mines in the United States and in Australia. These folks are doing hard work. Yes, it gets hard in corporate sometimes when markets are up and down. Policy support is up and down. There are some days where you crawl out of bed and you feel like the whole world was against you. Like coal is, painted as a bad thing. The reality is we know what it's doing every single day. You mentioned that it supplies 15% of the electricity, but if you look at that MISO in the middle third, I think we could probably pull up the app right now and see that coal is probably supplying 35% of the electricity right now in MISO. If we didn't have that, we would be in trouble. And it's hard to sort of define the culture other than it's hardworking, it's a lot of teamwork, it's a lot of protecting one another. It is about the safety. Like, we care about each other. And that's true in St. Louis, it's true here in Wyoming. It is special. I didn't envision that I would be at the same company for 15 years, and here I am. It is a culture that works for our industry, as it's been, as it is now, and importantly, we've got a lot of new opportunities in front of us where this culture is really going to carry us a very long way in some really good directions.
Maybe the other thing is I want to kind of get a little bit of your journey. We obviously know you're from mines, but I think we talked earlier about the amount of people that apply and the amount of people that actually get hired on. I don't know, it seemed like 600-700 to 1 or something like that. And it's like, and it's like,
Well, that's what it was.
yeah.
But now it's changed. Now there's competition.
Yeah, and so maybe talk, either of you can talk about that and what has changed. Is it just the business is better? Is it just, what do you see it?
You see a lot of, and we've talked about energy in general and just the markets, how they are, is you see a lot of boom in gas and oil and uranium. The coal industry is doing good. And so when you look at the population of our areas, we're really reaching out further geographically and reaching out to different pools of people, just because there is that bigger demand of workers out there. And so as we're looking for more and more truck drivers and mechanics and electricians, is you're picking from a much smaller pool. So we start reaching out to other avenues. As we do have a strong temporary workforce, and those people come in with very minimal experience, if not zero experience. They may have family ties here or have good references that they say, hey, we know this is a hard-working individual. They're going to be here every day. They're going to work hard, and we want them working here. And we train them from ground up. We teach them how to drive the trucks, or we teach them how to run a bulldozer, or teach them from the shop perspective. They might start out as a wash tech and work their way up into mechanic and roll. So that's what's really changed in the past here, is that you might look to that ground level for extra help there.
And one of the things we also saw in the oil and gas industry was this, hey, the industry is not going to be around 10 years from now, so why should I want to be invested in this business? And we heard the same from some of the guys out there. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of applicants that, that we know have a lot of experience, but they're like, well, this industry 5 years is not going to be for me. And so that seems like it's changing. Can you see it when you were looking to hire people? I mean, it sounds like where you were 2 or 3 years ago is a whole different world than where you are today.
Absolutely, yeah, and you feel the change in that shift is just you have excitement within the team, but I think that spreads to people wanting to come work here and seeing that future. It's completely different. Like you said, 2-3 years ago, it was not that. So it's been a good change.
Awesome.
I was thinking, Pat, we were talking about this because we sort of nosed into how is the administration being helpful, and we talked about the one big beautiful bill and how that affected royalty rates, how it affected tax provisions. But also, when you were talking, Pat, you were talking about the different parts of the government that are interested in what you're doing, not just on the coal side, but on the technology side. And you guys have been talking a little bit about critical minerals. But do you mind just sharing some of the Washington, support / conversation that you've been experiencing?
Sure. I think what we do in producing, really what these guys do in liberating energy here in Wyoming, touches every part of our government. Department of Interior controls the leases that we have here for the coal. We've got MSHA, we've got Department of Energy, we work with the Nettle laboratories. We're starting to do more work with the Department of War on critical minerals, including rare earth elements. It is broad, and I will tell you that there is a mandate from President Trump that energy is important to the United States. And the people that produce the energy are real people, and we need to start paying attention to them as a resource. And then there's definitely a national security overlay to all of this, whether it's the rare earth elements or it's the ability to have reliable electricity 24 hours a day to run the computers. They're doing everything with AI and the data centers and national security. It's really an umbrella that is touching all of Washington, D.C., and I would say all of the state, the state capitals like in Wyoming. There's tremendous support here. They've always known it. They've been through the ups and downs. But I do think we have a persistence and a resilience on that policy front that is grounded in facts and that people are starting to realize is vitally important to the future of this country.
It's interesting, and you said, the leadership point that you started with was energy is important to the United States. You think about it, like, surely we're not fighting about that. Like that, that seems so basic. I mean, I think at Veriton we're energy lovers, but it just seems so basic. You can talk about a lot of other things, but it was really striking when you said it that way.
It is basic, but isn't it also amazing for how long a period of time that one theme was painted out there as it being a certain thing being bad, which may not have been factually true, but it overrode all of the truth and the facts and the math and the physics with respect to renewables. And I think it's taken some strong and courageous voices to stand up and say, this is the truth, and this is what we're going to focus on. This is what this country is going to focus on.
Do you mind, while we're on critical minerals, because I feel like that's a space that people are trying to understand better, but it's a newer space for all of us. And when we were talking earlier, you mentioned, and not I say critical minerals, but the rare earths in particular, conventional and unconventional, and just how to think about those deposits. And Peabody, you obviously have all this talent, all this capability, all these people, all this technology. You could get into that, but maybe just talk to us about that market, if you will.
Sure. It is a very exciting opportunity for Peabody, and it is an extremely high priority for Peabody right now. And historically, the conventional deposits are sort of rare earth elements buried within hard rock, and the concentrations are a little bit tighter, a little bit better, if you will, than unconventional deposits. And so often people hear that word unconventional, and there's this negative connotation. I like to remind people, that's what we called shale.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say,
was
for shale
unconventional.
Guys, yeah, that's right.
Right? And look what it did.
Yeah.
In a period of 10 years, look what it did to U.S. oil and gas production. So we are doing a lot of work on this. We'll have a lot more to say about this in early February when we release year-end results. But we are seeing in our properties here in Wyoming that our concentrations are as good or better than other unconventional deposits that we've seen in this area. Where we have an advantage is we have been mining here for so long, the 2.5 billion tons, where we're finding these concentrations, we are touching those materials every single day. We are moving that feedstock every single day. We don't have to go find it. We don't have to permit a new mine. We don't have to dig a new mine.
This is as you go down to the coal seam, you're going through these
yes
items we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is there, and because it's unconventional and because those head grades are lower, you need more throughput to get enough of those rare earth elements in concentrations to move through that supply chain to produce these magnets, which are so important to our national security and our economy. I think you heard earlier today, we're moving 400 million cubic yards of material a year, okay? We have that throughput. So we are very focused right now on looking at the first step in technology to do some of that pre-concentration, if you will, to sort of get it equal to those conventional deposits and get that into the supply chain.
You made this really interesting comment before about the administration round two here has really, these are my words, but basically they learned how hard it is to change things, to move critical things, and this time around they seem to know better how to get things, not just articulate it, but get it done. Is there anything you could share there?
You know, I think it's probably being the oldest guy in this room, I think it's about continuous learning. Like, I think we all learn, and I think in that first President Trump administration, there was some learning going on. And I just think it was important what they learned, but what they did with what they learned when the second administration came in. And you see this message constantly reinforced from every agency that we work with as part of the administration. It is a consistent message. It is persistent. It is strong. It is, we're going to figure out a way to do this. And, you know, if you're not on board with that, you're not part of this team. We are seeing that firsthand. And it's the first time I've seen it in my career, Maynard, to that extent.
I gotta talk about a guy we met that you guys had talked about, and then we got to meet him. I gotta talk about Farmer Paul. Because this is a really, I think anyone, I'd say anyone who has a concern about coal either goes probably to emissions or they go to land, right? And Farmer Paul is at the center of all this reclamation. Could you talk about just the rules? Because we went through this with you. You were kind enough to go through once you mine, what you have to do to restore it, what the restrictions are, how you, I mean, I'm stealing your thunder, but even the topography, it has to look the same in a picture. But just talk about that whole aspect, because I really want to make sure people appreciate what's going on with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of background that goes into it, and a lot of planning and a lot of engineering work that goes into it. But ultimately, you have a permit that dictates how you can mine, and then how you need to place the land back when you're done.
Because we went to sites today, we did this today, where, Mike, like, you go and it's stunning, you're standing in front of the coal face, there's mounds and mounds of dirt in every direction, and it's almost like a lunar landscape, honestly. I mean, it's incredible. And then you drive and you've got these hills, you know, it's gorgeous. And it's the same, the gorgeous hills used to have the lunar landscape when they were being mined. I mean, it's stunning. Sorry, I can't stop talking about this reclamation thing, but it's really amazing.
Yeah, but you go through a process of modeling your pit progressions. So there's an understanding that your pit will continue to move in a strip mining process.
So basically at home you have the hole and you're expanding.
Expanding the hole, you make
Okay.
a slice off of it. Every
We're
cut you go,
slicing.
slice.
It's like
slice.
Thanksgiving, we're cutting off another slice.
Another slice of bread.
Yeah.
But as you finish that coal cut, you're going to come behind it and start dumping behind. We call it contemporaneous reclamation. It's keeping up with the pit as it advances. That's a huge value in Peabody, is making sure we keep up with that. You place the dirt in the backfill area, and then like we saw it today as the loader's up there loading topsoil out. We haul the virgin topsoil around the pit and we place that topsoil right in top of that grading to make sure we get that completed as quickly as possible. But the hydrology is one of the most important pieces within your permit and your PMT, is making sure you honor the drainages, the rivers, and everything that was there originally. You have to place that back to essentially the same elevation it was. Then when you mine the 80-foot of coal or 60-foot of coal out of the ground, your dirt's going to be lower. But that's like your hilly zones could be a little bit lower, but your hydrology is something you always end up honoring and make sure you have good watershed.
I think the thing for me too is when we talked about the reclamation is that Peabody seems to go beyond just the permit requirements. It's like, okay, we want to make this land as good or better. And Farmer Paul basically talked about the sagebrush, right? And we got to see the antelope, the deer, the stuff out. I mean, there's actually animals out there. And it was really interesting. He said, when you guys do the reclamation, it's like the soil is now better. And so those animals are coming to that soil. So we never get to hear that, but to see that and hear it is something the public doesn't get to hear. Like, it's better after you guys mine this thing. And I just think that's something that the industry needs to really focus on more, because we saw it with our own eyes.
Yeah, and Paul does so much good work for us. Like he talked about, good topsoil bed development and root development. And, when we bring the grazing in to get the root penetration ground and developing that bed with turnips or cover crops or whatever it is to help improve that. And then you see the flourishing vegetation as it comes through. It is impressive just what he does, the rec team does, and making sure that the land's going back to good quality.
I heard from some of the employees, the reason we do this is because we want our grandkids are going to be hunting on this land and stuff of that nature. So they're really thinking about it almost like the Indians, right? It's like we're looking at the next 2-3 generations. We want to leave that from them. And that really kind of showed through. So I applaud you guys. It was really, really cool to see that and hear that.
Well, it was kind of like, I wish, because we got to see it, but I don't know if people appreciate, but the coal is just, it's like if the earth is a cake, the coal, if it was, like a Danish, the coal is like the cherry part, and the so you peel back the Danish, you take the cherry part out, and then you fold the Danish back, and so it's not. You just really, to Mike's point, you're struck by, yes, it's a big, elaborate, complicated, lots of equipment, lots of people process, but afterwards, the land looks very much like it did. And you mentioned, Pat, the law, I think, around reclamation was 76 or so?
SMACRA, yes.
Yeah, mind talking about, because this gets to why we are doing this better here than in a lot of other places.
Yes. So when SMACRA came into effect in 1976, in very simple terms, it said, whatever you disturb, you have to return to its original condition or better. Same elevation for the streams, the hydrology, and everything else. Prior to that time, that wasn't required. In Australia, it's still not required to that extent. So, out east, you'll see a lot of these areas where you see old strip mines, and you don't see that anymore. And the PRB here fits into that same category. It is taken back to its original condition. And it's the right thing to do. Yeah. And Mike, to your point, we're doing that, plus we're, for every, I think, acre that we disturb now, we're probably reclaiming 1.7 contemporaneously. So you don't get behind, you don't get into financial trouble, and you can't make your obligations to repair that land okay? We try to stay ahead of that. We are staying ahead of that. Very, very proud of that. So, yeah.
But this is an example we probably don't talk about it enough, but is that was good environmental law. That was a good change that we did, and it's balance, and that's what we all want in all of this. All right, well, guys, you got to tell us, what are you going to do for Thanksgiving?
I'm going back to spend it with my in-laws and spending some time back on the farm.
No, where is that?
South Dakota, eastern South Dakota. So.
Oh, wow. Are most of the guys, you mentioned this, but most of the guys here are local?
A lot of them are, but you'll see quite a few people travel in, even out of state, and they may even travel in for the 3 weeks they work and then go home for their week off.
Now, and we had a good lunch today, but I'm guessing on Thanksgiving Day it might be a little better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the whole team, a big Thanksgiving dinner is coming.
Yep.
But we always ask, what is your favorite dish?
Oh, I love the turkey, but
Oh, you can't say turkey.
ham.
You got to say something.
broccoli,
You gotta say something weird.
broccoli rice casserole is my favorite.
Oh,
That's a good one.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Pat, what are you doing with your Thanksgiving?
I'm going to be in St. Louis. I'll have 4 of my 5 children home. My 93-year-old mother will be joining us. My wife, Yolanda, is an amazing cook, like just a perfectionist type cook. So it's really, she really whips me into condition as we prepare for things. And I have sort of a favorite smell of the day, so I get involved in helping to prepare the dressing. And when you get to that point where you take that skillet, you got that butter in there, you got those onions in there, and it's just like you just want to dip that spoon in and get it, but it's just those smells. You smell the turkey going you've had in brine for 24 hours. But the most important thing is that you've got everybody that you love that's there, cooking together, eating together, enjoying each other, thankful for what we've got, that we've got good jobs, that we can provide for our families. It is just a great tradition around our house, and really looking forward to it.
The thing is, we hate to wrap up, we always do, but this might be a good place to do it, because I think really full credit to Mike. He thought of this when Jim came on COBT. We're so glad we did it. We wanted to learn. We learned so much. You guys were so nice to us. We hung out with everybody. But our other message is thank you, because everybody's working so hard here. A long time in the country, you were working with, the baggage of people saying we don't want coal, and now people are remembering why they want coal and why they need you and why the country needs you. So I just think from the energy community, from Veriton, thank you guys so much for the day, for what you do, for helping the country. It's awesome.
Well, thank you, and thank you. You guys provided lunch today, and I know all our entire team enjoyed it. The donuts were amazing. I'm still looking at those donuts every time I walk down the hallway.
I've been walking past them myself.
I didn't have one this morning.
Who came up with this?
I do for one. But listen, thank you. You guys made the journey out here. You've done your research. You present present important facts to the people who can make a difference to the prosperity of the United States, especially as it relates to energy and national security. So wishing you guys the best with your family. It wouldn't be fair if I didn't ask you, what are you guys doing for Thanksgiving?
All right, Mike, you go first.
I'll go first. Everyone's heard this that listen to COBT, but I'm from Panama originally, the country, Panama Canal. So my daughter's getting married in mid-January, so we're going down to Thanksgiving to kind of get the last details of the wedding plan. So that's what we're doing over Thanksgiving. So it may not be the traditional Thanksgiving. It's probably going to be a lot of roast con pollo and stuff of that nature. But yeah, we're looking forward to it.
A little Thanksgiving in shorts. I've got my youngest is a Stanford football player, so we're going to go out and watch. By the time this airs, hopefully Stanford has just really whooped Cal really good and is about to whoop Notre Dame. But we'll spend it out there with him. Poor guy went to college, and his whole family is showing up to college to be with him, but it should be fun.
I got to ask, is he like a wide receiver or
He's
a tight end?
a tight end. you know.
And he's bigger than him.
He's a big boy, big turkey. Need to put him in salt water, soak him,
Brined him, huh?
brine him. Anyway.
Well, best of luck with that.
Thank you so much, guys. And to everybody who watched and listened, we appreciate you. Thanks for all your help and support throughout the year. And if you can get out to Wyoming on a family trip, I'm sure the guys wouldn't mind if you came by the mine and saw what's going on out here. Thank you and happy Thanksgiving.